Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today in War Thunder it is time to have a look at another Devblog, and this time it's time to have a look at the new Chinese top tier premium. And by top tier I don't of course mean top tier, but I mean rank 6, which is the highest level of premium in the game that we have, and it is the Type 69 2G. This machine is going to be able to research all ranks of the current Chinese tech tree with as much efficiency as you want, meaning that it's one of those premiums which is designed to come into the game and you can buy, and it's probably going to be around 8.7, so you can run it with the 8.7 lineup and be able to research, the tree overall. And what we see is a lot of nice little factors on it, but because this thing isn't as good as some of the other premiums that we see at this tier, the XM1, the L44, it's definitely going to have a lower BR, but it may face them quite a lot, which is a bit of an issue. But, we'll go through its general characteristics, we'll go through what it's going to be, and also remember, they just removed the T62 from the store, so it seems like this is going to be the Chinese premium going forward, and I think this is actually kind of a nice addition. The T62, at least the one that the Chinese had a really cool, interesting history behind it, but I feel a lot of people believed that it was not really lazy, but it was just kind of, a bit odd that every other nation got this kind of unique, special premium as a top ranking premium, and for some reason China, well, just kind of got a copy and paste. So now, we have a premium which is its own vehicle, and I think that's nice. So what's the history of this vehicle? So it starts off with Bangladesh. Yes, one of the interesting things about this vehicle is this is a Bangladeshi modification. So in 1975, China and Bangladesh established diplomatic relations. They maintained a close relationship since then, and in 1989, Bangladesh actually purchased a number of older Chinese Type 69 2M tanks. These immediately entered service with the armed forces of Bangladesh, and sometime after their introduction to the service in Bangladesh, the Chinese Type 69 2Ms underwent a major modernization program. This was initiated by the Bangladeshi army with the support of Chinese companies, and as a result, the vehicles received ERA, a modified domestic version of the L7-105, as well as an upgraded fire control system, among other changes. These upgraded vehicles became known under the designation of the Type 69 2G, and the first units entered service in the mid-2000s, which is kind of crazy. It shows the difference between a country like Bangladesh and someone like America, or even France or Germany, when it comes to their military budgets. While they're running around with Type 69 2Gs, you obviously have the very much more modern versions of the M1A2s, which just shows the difference. The Type 69 2Gs were first deployed in action as part of a response to an uprising which took part in Bangladesh's capital, Dhaka, in 2009, and the vehicle has been in service with the armed forces of Bangladesh ever since and continues to serve to this day. So this is an incredibly modern vehicle if we just look at it from the Bangladeshi point of view, but also understand that a lot of the technologies that are on it are from the 80s, or even older than that. This isn't a vehicle which is very much, what would be classed as a modern vehicle, just one which has been upgraded over time with a bunch of different ideas. And this is kind of shown, through its weaponry. It's kind of shown through many different factors. So the first factor is the gun. The gun itself, as we talked about, it's a Chinese modification of the familiar L7-105. The Chinese actually did a deal with the British when the British were trying to establish diplomatic relations with them, alongside, America was trying to do the same thing at the same time, and the Chinese actually created a license-built version of the L7, and then they went on to give it, a little bit of a Chinese patang. The ZPL-94 is the Chinese modification of the L7 that this thing uses. It has a slightly extended barrel, and this means that the projectiles that it fires Dishkas have a slightly higher muzzle velocity and have slightly better ballistic properties. What this means is this gun is able to fire heat FS, it's able to fire HESH, and it's also able to fire APFS DS. And the APFS DS you will find already in the tech tree, on vehicles such as, the ZTZ59D1, very similar to that APFS DS, and has up to armor penetration of 306. So it should be able, to pretty much cut through whatever it really wants. Now, when we talk about other stuff, it does have access to some machine guns on it, such as the 12.7 on the top, and as somebody who is a fan of having a 12.7, there's something nice about either having a Dishka or having a license-built Dishka, or, just a Chinese knockoff Dishka. It's just one of those things when you have a lot of very lightly armored vehicles running around. The Dishka has pretty decent pen, so being able to deal with a lot of light vehicles that you're normally not used to fighting is really good. So it's a nice little secondary piece of equipment on the machine. And if we want to talk about it as well as one of the main selling points of this, the increased protection. So with the slightly bigger gun, even though, it's kind of similar to the stuff we see at 8.7 anyway, it does have ERA on the turret. It also has a little bit, as you can see, on the upper glacis, and what this will give is mainly good armor against stuff with heat FS. This is mainly designed to protect from chemical munitions and not really against kinetic rounds. So what that means is against stuff like heat FS, even HESH, it's going to give you a ton of protection, but against stuff like APFS DS, AP, and APDS, probably not so much. And since APFS DS is one of the higher rounds at this BR, at least at 8.7 and above, then that kind of shows that, it is not really going to matter too much in a lot of areas. But the thing is, there are a lot of vehicles in the game, especially at 7.7, 8.0, and 8.3, so the BRs below this vehicle, which, there is all reasons for its being able to see, the ERA will be incredibly effective against. Think about something like the M60 AOS at 8.3. Think about, many other machines which are around there, even the M60 at 7.7, which can see this machine. The STB, I suppose, which has, of course, access to only heat FS. So the thing that I've always said about machines like this with the array, I mean, the T55AM fits this as well, is it feels like anything below you, or the majority of things that are below you, the ERA is incredibly effective against because they're firing chemical munitions. But anything above you, it feels like paper when it comes to the armor because they're firing kinetic munitions. And that's going to be felt, in my opinion, exactly the same when it comes to the Type 69 2G. So against certain targets, you'll be able to run at them like a madman, holding W, using your stabilized L7 to just go over the hill and do a ton of damage. But against stuff which is a higher BR than you, it's really going to struggle because of many factors, including the fact that it has only really ERA to rely on when it comes to its survivability. The next thing as well is the vehicle itself is obviously with the increased armor protection on it of all of the ERA, with the gun as well being added to it, the combat weight of this vehicle is nearly 40 tons. That's pretty heavy for how small of a tank this vehicle is. And the regular Type 69 is only 36.5 tons, so technically they've added nearly a ton of stuff to this vehicle, or well, just over a ton of stuff to this vehicle. And both vehicles use the 580 horsepower engine, so this means that the Type 69 2G, compared to the normal Type 69, it has a slightly lower power to weight ratio, and therefore it has poorer mobility, especially especially in off-road conditions. Now, the nice thing about a vehicle like the T55AM, which is a vehicle I keep, referencing because it's very similar in ideas to this, upgraded armor, it has a slightly better gun, it has access to slightly different weaponry in terms of its ballistic properties, and also it doesn't get stuff such as thermals and things, and also it resides at 8.7, which I'm pretty sure is where this thing's going to reside as well. But the main thing about it is the fact that the T55AM gets a bonkers engine on it to try and keep up with the amount of, extra weight that gets added to it. So the Type 69 2G doesn't. So it's going to be a little bit slower than its tech tree counterpart in the form of the Type 69. So that is something you will have to combat with, better positioning. And also remember that wonderful that wonderful reverse gear. Who can not forget that wonderful reverse gear, which is going to get you into trouble so many times, especially if you get barreled. So the other things is the equipment that is for the, I suppose the FCS system overall, if you want to call it that. You have two-plane gun stabilization, which is standard at 8.7. You got night vision, laser rangefinders, which has been always nice on these Chinese tanks. You also have access to smoke grenades and also ESS. So the only thing you're really missing, which I'm sure a lot of people would have loved to have, thermals. There is no thermals on this vehicle, which is why it is not really comparable to other vehicles at this BR when it comes to the premium nature. So what you normally see from a lot of vehicles when it comes to their premium, so if we have a look at the A1A1L44, the AMX30 Super, the XM1, or even something like the the Swedish one, the CV90-105, which is just an insane vehicle. So you either see a trade-off. They have thermals, and they normally have increased power, whether it's through the gun or whether it is through the engine, and sometimes both, which is kind of deadly. Kind of the AMX30 Super, that's why it's one of the best top-tier premiums, because it excels in all three of those factors. And the thing is, it makes the vehicles incredibly powerful, which is why they became higher BRs than their tech tree counterparts. And now we have a machine, the Type 69 2G, which doesn't necessarily have them. It doesn't have the increased power of the engine. It's actually decreased because of the weight of the vehicle is increased. It doesn't have access to thermals. It doesn't have access to that much better ballistic properties. Even if they are slightly better, it's nothing to really write home about. So this machine is effectively a lot more balanced than those other premiums, which is really nice, from my point of view. I think it's much better to see these style of premiums. But the problem is, now that the others exist in the game, yes, they are higher BR, but because they are, still a lot of them are below the 10.3 threshold, a lot of them are 9.0, you're going to get up to a lot into them with this machine, and it's going to hurt, and it's not going to feel good. Go and ask T55AM players, which have the increased mobility, which you kind of need against those vehicles, how they feel facing them, and it isn't very fun. So that is a bit of a problem that I see with a Type 69 2G. But at 8.7, at least you have a really nice lineup. You have the ZTZ59D1. You have access also to the WZ, the prototype AA with the HEVT, and then you have access to the Taiwanese vehicle. I think it's an M60. Is it the TTS? I'm not entirely sure, but at least in those you have thermals, so therefore you can use those vehicles at 8.7 with that, and then this can kind of be a thumper to be able to get through the match, especially if you're top tier where you can dominate. It also only has -4 degrees of gun depression, which is unfortunately standard for a lot of these Chinese tanks, so you got to work around that, and the reload should be pretty nice, so that is something to look forward to. If you want to know, this is a bundle vehicle, so you can pre-order it right now, and you get yourself access to the Bengal Tiger title, which actually does sound pretty cool, and also you get access to the badge of the Bangladeshi army. So if you are interested in that, it's going to put you back $60. You also get access to 15 days of premium account and 2,000 golden eagles, so this tank is probably worth around $45. And if you are interested in the Chinese tech tree, at least, as I said, it has a lineup around it when it comes to aviation and also ground. It's also one which the Chinese tech tree is primed to be one of those tech trees which has the most expansion of it compared to a lot of other tech trees in the game. You know, we already know that they're going to be getting a lot of top tier stuff, radar guided AA, they're going to be getting the ZTZ 99s, not just the 99 but also the 99A. There's also kind of like a Chode Object 120 that they're going to be getting too. So they are primed for a bunch of these top tier vehicles, and if you're interested in picking up, you know, a premium to get those in the future, then that isn't too bad of an idea. I would say the top tier of China is not in a great place right now, but that doesn't mean in the future that won't be the case. Hopefully in the future they will be in a comparable place to other nations, especially since we know this year they're also releasing Chinese helicopters as an addition to the game. So that's another thing to think about. Even if, you know, this may be like an investment for the future, or maybe you want to wait for a discount on it or a bundle or something when, you know, it goes on offer. Who knows? But at least right now, this is a new 8.7 premium. This is more comparable to the 8.7 premiums that we saw, such as the T55AM, compared to the T62 that was there before. So that is lovely to see. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Eugene's Terry, Daniel Stanton, Blackie, Elove Goat, Jay Wilt, Martinez, B. Young, Chris Giltnane, Trigger Hippie, Ambrosius McClellan, and also Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.